Business progresses so much over time. And fortunately, we can learn from just about everyone who has run successful large businesses in the past to kind of know what stage you are on and where the future of your business will most likely go if you continue down this path. Because at the end of the day, most businesses look the same. And so I'll start where the journey started for me. For the first year, maybe year and a half, you're really just trying to get good at some sort of skill set. For me, it was probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years before I even started a business, just trying to get educated and start to understand and gain some sort of knowledge about something. But the workload that you have during that time is very weird because you don't actually have any work. You are just trying to learn things. And so during that time, I almost always felt inadequate because there was no income coming in. And at the time, I didn't really care because I was a senior in high school. I just wanted to find a way to apprentice myself under someone. But I just kind of like a lost feeling where you know that there is this larger vision that you are trying to get to, but you don't really know how to get there. At least that was the case for me. And I just said, well, fuck it. I'm just going to continue to do this every day for a long period of time and see if I can figure something out in the future, which is what I did. And then maybe a year and a half in, you land your first client. For me, it took getting a tattoo of someone's logo on my leg. And just you start working, and then you start working hard. And with one client, you really don't have that much of a workflow. You don't have to work too often. You're forced to work maybe a few hours per week. And again, you're still just in that stage of trying to improve your skills, but you don't have any real pressure on you. The only pressure is just working for this one person. If you miss a few days or don't work all hours of every day, you really there's no impact, and it doesn't really matter if you're working that much. You're kind of just working a regular job, maybe even a little less. At least that was the case for me in certain aspects. Then you start to take on another client, and maybe you start to develop some sort of business model. Then you start to hire some people, which brings along a lot more pressure and brings along a lot more, well, shoot, if I don't perform, a lot of people are relying upon me. We are going to fail. And then you get forced to work. And for me, that my first business doing that, I ran it to the ground. I was making about $20,000 a month in revenue and about $2,000 a month in profit, because my main goal with that was just to learn how to manage people, which I failed miserably at and learned a ton about. But still had the job that I was working, which still had some income coming in. So I was never really concerned about money. Anyway, talking about the progression of business, you just have to do the little things over a long period of time at the beginning, and eventually you can get somewhere with it as long as you are taking self accountability for your actions. If you are trying something and it doesn't work, you don't blame the outside sources for it not working. It is 100% your fault. And if you acknowledge that, you can learn from your mistakes and get incrementally better over time, and eventually it will happen. For me, it was cold outreaching people, trying to work for them for free. And I was angry at that time. I was wildly angry because I thought, these people are so stupid. Are they not going to take on my skills? I want to work for them for free. I mean, that's such a good deal. And I was an idiot because I had nothing for them. I would have been a complete burden for all those people I was reaching out to work for free. And then I started to offer to pay people $20,000 a month to work for them. So that didn't work, or $20,000 total. That's what I had saved up at the time. I was like, these guys are idiots. All they have to do is teach me everything they know, and I'll be the hardest worker ever. Well, guess what? You got to take self accountability. And the problem was I had zero value I could provide. And when you are in that situation, you just have to get better at something. And I know that now as my business has developed, I feasibly just I only want the super A class talent that is going to be working with my team and with me. Anything else is honestly a burden because I know exactly what needs to be get done. But anyway, going back to the progressions of business, It first really just started with taking a lot of risk, taking an outsized amount of risk, getting this dude's tattoo logoed, or his logo tattooed on my leg, and flying out to meet him, begging for a job, basically harassing him. um, that that was an exuberant amount of risk and working, just trying to develop some sort of skills. Then when I got that, you really just start to kick ass, or so I thought. Not the case. You still don't know anything. So you don't actually provide much value for someone at first because you know nothing. And I didn't know anything, but since I took so much risk, I got myself in the room and still work with that guy today. Then where I am today, after a few years of working and cultivating your skills, I mean, that's really all it is for the first few years, at least in my opinion. Unless you are just much smarter than most people, which I am not. So I've had to do this over a decent period of time. The complete opposite of what everyone on TikTok tells you, that it's easy to make $10,000 per month and the next 60 days if you just follow these 4 steps. For me, that did not work at all. I wish it did, but at the end, I'll show you why I'm actually glad it didn't. So now I know exactly what I need to do. Anything else is really a distraction. I know exactly what my day-to-day needs to look like for me to get to my dream output, but there is so much pressure on me now because you have tangible expenses. You have people who are very much so reliant on you. And if you want to take a day off, you just can't. There's no longer the option. In the past, I had the choice if I wanted to work hard, and a lot of days I chose not to. But now I don't. I don't have that choice. But I will also say, over a long period of time, your ability to be able to work more and handle more of a workflow increases with it. I will continuously use this analogy of the marathon runner, or a runner in general. I'm of the belief that I think just about anyone can run a marathon. Some people, it's going to take them a significantly more amount of training because maybe one person's they're morbidly obese and they first have to start running to lose a bunch of weight, and then maybe takes them 2 years. But eventually, if they trained very consistently over a long period of time, they could run a marathon. Some people need much less training and they're born naturals and they were just made for this and they could run one without much training at all. I see business as just about the same thing. And so over time, your body starts to be able to handle more amount of miles that you're putting on it. You go from maybe running 5 miles a week to 50 miles a week. And then then you start running ultra marathons and you can start to do 100 miles per week just over an aggregate total. That same thing is with the amount of workload that you can handle. At first, I really could only work efficiently 1 to 2 hours per day at an absolute max. Maybe probably even less than that. For an actual focus, probably only 45 minutes or to an hour per day, because you don't actually know what you're doing. You're just trying to figure it out. Most people watching this video are probably in that situation. You probably want to work hard, but you don't even know what to work hard towards, which is the worst, most frustrating feeling in the entire world. But I promise you will get past that. And eventually you are forced to work hard until this is the stage I'm at. I am forced to work all hours of every day until I can hire the best people to relieve some stuff off my plate and we can start to expand together. It's a different kind of pressure for sure. I mean, today I'm just exceptionally tired, but there's nothing. I'm someone who likes to take full accountability. I chose this life and I am continually choosing it. And I know that it's going to be like this for years to come, because you're not going to build a machine that starts to run itself in 3 to 5 years. It takes a lot longer than that to grow and run a fantastic business. It is a sacrifice that I'm absolutely willing to take. I will also say the amount of joy that I have working from when I started to where I am today is probably 100 times more enjoyment and fulfillment. I actually love what I'm doing now. When at first I didn't really give a shit about it at all, but it turns into like a competitive sport. Then you're just always competing against yourself. And so I would say I'm in the stage where everything is about kind of growing and scaling a team. And now everything is about the people that you bring on, which I've been in just a kind of hold still. Yesterday, I got 2 potential clients that it would be life-changing amounts of money. It would quite literally be life-changing amounts of money. And I didn't sleep last night, even though I was super tired, because you think of the stress and pressure that come along with that. I would be able to hire some of the best people in the world. I could probably scale a team to maybe 5, 6 people, paying them incredible amounts of money. But that means you're forced to perform it. I mean, I can't say this with certainty because no one really can, and I don't know. I think that most business owners, when they get to see this kind of stress and pressure, you care more about your monthly P&L. How much money am I making this month? How much money am I making the next month and the month after that? It's really just fighting for survival without thinking of the long-term reputation and long-term goal. I very easily could be hyper fixated on my short-term income and make a lot more money, but that would hurt me over the next 5 to 6 years. So I've been very, very, I'm going to use the word strategic, at least within myself. For other people, I could be a bloody idiot, which is most likely the case, where I turn down 99% of work that is offered to me because I don't think I can provide them exceptional results. And so until I can provide those people exceptional results, I just focus on getting my skill set better. Yesterday, because I got those 2 people that I think I can actually provide and like 25x the amount of results that they're getting within like a month or two, because the way that I have built that sort of confidence is I've done that for people very, very similar to them. And I know exactly the steps that we need to get there. Other people would be a lot more guesswork for me. But if I do get both of these gigs and I can do that, I just know what that will do to my business over the long term. It will explode it. It will really, really put it on the map, and at least in the very little small puddle of a niche that I'm in. And that, I think, takes you to the next step of a business where you have a great team, or ideally, if you run a great business, you would have, hypothetically, the very best people around you helping you start to facilitate this stuff and hopefully kind of grow along with that. And it will change me from being in the business of servicing these clients myself and training PJ with what I'm doing right now to finding the best people in the entire world and having some sort of training module that they can follow to where we can do this together. And it'll be much more working as a team, which is a much different thing that I'm used to. But that's how all great businesses are run. Like most of my friends are small entrepreneurs who run maybe $1 million, $2 million per year businesses. And it's really just them and maybe a few other people that are more low skilled labor, but they just have a very high skill set. That is something that would be great. I very, very much so want to grow a pretty large business. And I think it's probably an ego thing, if I'm being honest. Also, just to see if I can do it. Man, because I think the happiest you can really be, I think the decision that most people would take would be how I felt when I was making like $10,000, $12,000 per month profit, where I was only working 2 to 3 hours per day. I was playing pickleball 4 hours a day. I was going to MMA a few times per week. I was going to the gym every day. I was still going out to eat and doing all these cool things. I was still living a really good life. I mean, I think normal people, if you don't really have any responsibilities, I mean, that was the best setup ever, unless you really, really love the game of business. And right now, I probably woke up with too much estrogen in my body, where I was tired and feeling lethargic, and very much so just wanting to rest. I mean, tomorrow I'll be back to where all I want to do is kick ass and just grow a massive company again. So, I mean, every day is not going to be just this spectacular journey, but I think that's one of the key lessons that I've learned is it doesn't actually matter. You just keep on doing the same thing every single day for 10 years and getting progressively better and taking full accountability when things go wrong or right, to know how to improve or what you need to improve on, what you need to do in the future to not feel that pain point that you felt from either losing money or messing up some sort of relationship or hiring the wrong person. You just start to learn all these things, and eventually over a long period of time, you get really, really good at it, which has happened so far. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm really good at all. But knowing what I know today compared to what I knew fucking, I don't know how many years ago, it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable, these strides. And it feels spectacular. It really does. The fulfillment that I have is unreal. And I know what kind of business I want to run. It's one of the guys I work with. He has a massive, massive $1 billion company, and he works 90 minutes per week from force work. He takes a bunch of meetings, he does a bunch of other things throughout the week. But for him, all he's forced to do is 90 minutes per week. And he makes more money than any person, every single person who watches this video combined. And I know how he did that. It's people. It's always people over everything. It's just, how do you bring the best people on board? How do you want them? How do you motivate them properly? How do you keep everyone's incentives aligned? How do you find them? And that, I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard. But everything seems hard at first. And it's usually wildly overwhelming when you start to develop something new. That's also why it has such outsized returns. So I have to get back to work now. I want to take a nap, but I'm just going to keep on pushing through. And that's usually the times when I used to run significant amounts every single day. Those were usually the times when it mattered most, when I really didn't want to run. You put on the shoes, you go for a run, and sometimes that's when you get the best runner's high. But it's more so just the consistency. I mean, every single person online who teaches videos about how to make money. I mean, that's why I don't do that, because the small tips, everyone knows what they need to do. Like, you just have to work harder. And it sucks. It sucks that that's the answer. And I used to daydream about like buying a stock and it would go up a million times and I'd make a bajillion dollars, and I'd fantasize about all the things I'd do with it. Or most people fantasize if they win the lottery, what would they do to it? Here are all the things. And you dream about the results that you get from the money. Where now, I mean, all I care about is just the process of it. And then everything else comes along, which is a much better feeling. I do have dinner tonight, so a little spiffed out right now. I might even throw on a blazer. Guys, could be a special night. I might throw on a blazer, some fancy dress shoes, going to a nice restaurant. So gotta somehow revive myself for that. But fuck, I am just rambling on right now. Josh, end this video.